Hi, welcome back to Halloween House.
So we have another Belle Gunness video for you, and we did not intend it to be a Belle Gunness video. We actually wanted to do a story on Maddie Altick and Eva Rupert. Maddie Altick was the madam that owned the Belle Gunness property before Belle got there, and she was supposedly murdered by her sister. However, we
went down a rabbit hole about the property.
If you watched our last video, we kind of explained what a rabbit hole you get into when you're doing research on the property. It's just crazy. So that's how we ended up with another update to the update. But go ahead with the Eva.
Well,
Rupert.
We won't even jump to that just yet because there's so much more. So
yes, much more.
It just starts out very basic and normal that in 1831 the land was conveyed to the state of Indiana. Nothing crazy there.
Nope.
And so that wasn't too bad. In 1846 the first house was built, and it was a log cabin, and it was built by one of the founders of LaPorte, John Walker. Then we go on to the doctor.
Yes, Dr. Carr.
In 1877.
He replaced the log cabin with the brick house, which would later be owned by Maddie and also Belle Swenson.
Mm-hmm. He had, sounds like possibly his physician practice there, and as was probably typical on a lot of rural farm areas, they did have a cemetery on the property, whether that was for family burials or patients, whatever it may be.
But there was there. Yes, there was a cemetery there, a private cemetery.
After Dr. Carr left, or who knows what happened to him, his son G. Heil Carr moved in, and this is where things start to get a little interesting.
He was an outlaw. His cohorts were Jerry. We didn't write that down.
No, we didn't.
Jerry and Tibbets, Charles Tibbets.
They said he was a really large guy for the time. He was probably over 6 feet tall and 200 over 200 pounds.
Very, very menacing person. Belle, I'm scared.
I think Belle's messing with our camera.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's creepy.
Anyway, so he was a big guy, probably pretty intimidating, and did lots of criminal activities.
And the property became a haven for the outlaws.
Yes.
The group. We don't know what the name of the outlaw group was.
Not a proper name, just a description.
Yeah.
At some point he ended up out west and was involved in a gunfight outside of Denver and was killed along with his buddies. They all died with their boots on.
Yeah. We know Charles Tibbets died in South Bend, and the man who stabbed Charles Tibbets, was acquitted. He pled innocent by self-defense, and because of Charles's reputation, nothing came of it, and he was acquitted of the murder.
So that was an interesting little period in the house's history. In 1890, it was reported that there was a tragic suicide by hanging by a member of the Goss family. We really couldn't find a whole lot of information about that, but another tragedy on the property, unfortunately. And then in 1892, Miss Maddie bought the property.
And this is when it became the Body House.
Yes.
And that also attracted all kinds of people from Chicago and
more criminals.
Yeah, she had built a boathouse so she could run a ferry from her property to Chicago, so all the rich guys could come out and dance the night away and other things at this beautiful Body House.
Yes. It didn't sound like that lasted very long. She was put in jail for about a year, and then upon coming back, whether she started everything back up.
Well, a new governor, was it a governor or a mayor of the town, was elected and essentially pardoned her. So she got out of jail and came back to her property.
And at that point, she died suddenly.
Yeah,
in the home.
There's two conflicting stories. One is that she died of a sudden heart attack after a night of debauchery, and then of course the other rumor is that she died of hemorrhage. I don't know what that means, but I guess that goes along with the story that she was murdered by her sister to eliminate the competition.
Yeah, they said her funeral was probably the fanciest funeral anyone had ever seen, which find any pictures of that. That would
Yeah,
have been cool too.
it would have been. And
So
then another thing I wanted to just on a total side note, everybody says sudden heart attack. Is that an oxymoron? Because I don't know what a heart attack that's planned.
yeah.
Aren't all heart attacks sudden? So is sudden heart attack an oxymoron?
Yes.
I think it is.
Absolutely.
But anyways.
So after her death, the house went into foreclosure. And so it was just 2 years after she bought it, 1894, Thomas Doyle purchased the property out of foreclosure.
And then he didn't live there very long because in 1898, a man named L. Williams, he was a railroad man, and that was a weird one.
Yeah, he bought the property, and there were rumors flying around that the railroad was going to use the property as a cemetery or a burial ground for victims of either train wrecks or injuries on jobs. It sounds like there was a little bit of an investigation done, and it really didn't conclude anything.
Nothing
So
kind of panned out about it, but it was supposed to be a secret cemetery. This wasn't a cemetery that everybody was supposed to know about.
Right.
So there's some nefarious stuff going on there.
yeah,
So
that was a odd
yeah.
use of a property.
So before Belle Gunness got there, this is what we have: outlaws,
Prostitutes,
prostitutes,
suicide,
heart attack, and
graveyards.
then this secret railroad graveyard.
Yeah. And here we are, 1901. Belle Sorensen buys the property, and the rest, we all know the story.
Is history. Of course, we've talked amongst ourselves, wondering if Belle knew of these cemeteries.
Yeah.
And knew of her plan, like she knew she was going to come out to LaPorte to lure these men and kill them and bury them. So I'm wondering if she picked that property because she knew there was a cemetery there.
It's possible, because it would make it easier to blame someone else if
Right.
you got discovered.
Be like, I didn't put him there. There was a cemetery here before I even got here.
So
Yeah.
it's a possibility. She may have just seen an article in a paper and said, hey, I've got money, I'm going to buy that. But she may have plotted that too. She was not a dummy.
No, I just don't know anybody who would want a property like that. It's just, and even the modern owners, like, I would never buy a property as storied as that.
If you did, I don't know if you'd want to live on it.
Yeah.
Like, you could make a museum or something like that, but this has so much stuff hanging over it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, obviously, since we had to do quite a bit of jumping around to find this, most people wouldn't even have a clue about anything more than just Belle Gunness being there. But it's got a lot of sadness attributed to it.
And another reason why I wouldn't want to own the property is because we did run across a few vlogs and stuff like that of people that actually went to the house and like knocked on people's doors asking them information, and I just think that's just so disrespectful. You don't, I don't know. Whatever. We would never do that.
We stopped a couple people on the street, but we're not going to go pounding on doors.
No. And we did visit a part of Belle Gunness's property, but it's the undeveloped part. And we didn't bother anybody, and we certainly didn't give away the location of the property, and we don't intend to. Because there is a movie coming up now.
Yeah.
God knows what those people are going to go through once the movie comes out. I wonder if there's going to be even more.
I think they're going to have people camped out on the front lawn.
Yeah. So if you did watch the previous video about how they made it into a nature preserve but didn't do anything with it, I think it's pretty obvious why they didn't do anything with it. They don't want to be bothered anymore.
Yeah.
It's one thing to go there in secret and just kind of walk around a little bit and keep to yourself. It's a whole other thing to go there to bother the residents that are currently there. It's, you know. So, like we said, we didn't mean it to be another Belle Gunness video, but once you start investigating stuff, you just get set down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And we do have 2 more videos coming up
Yes.
related to Belle Gunness. We have the Ray Lampier, because we're questioning whether he was victim or villain. If you want to expound on that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff she did might have been nice to have a helper.
Yeah.
You know, even though you can butcher hogs yourself, wouldn't it be nice to have someone else helping you? So he might have gotten swindled into that because he thought that she would marry him, and
Yeah, because he was in love with her, and I don't know, there's a whole nother story about that. You'll have to watch the previous videos. We did kind of touch on that, so that'll give you a background to know what we're talking about in the Ray Lampere video we're going to be doing shortly.
yeah,
And then there's
there's a movie coming out.
We'll watch the movie and share our opinion about it.
Mhm.
So that's the storied history of the Belle Gunness property. I just can't believe.
Even over 110 years later, it's just still such an intriguing story.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence. A lot of people say it was the 1800s, things like that happened. You know, not on one property, not one after the other on the same property. That's just too much.
And I don't believe there were common Belle Gunness people all over the place. She was definitely a serial killer.
Yes, she was. Okay, so that's our update to the update. Hit subscribe if you're interested in more videos and recipes and other really weird shit. 'Cause, you know, we're weird. So stay spooky.